Bitcoin and crypto are incredibly bullish right now, and that's not just some crazy sentiment I'm throwing out there. I'm going to show you exactly why in this video, because if you zoom out on a Bitcoin chart right now, it's been kind of weeks of consolidation to the downside. And when I say Bitcoin charts, I'm talking about this is the roadmap for all of crypto. So even if you don't hold Bitcoin, you hold altcoins, this video is very important. I'm going to show you exactly where we are in this cycle, the move for Bitcoin right now, and why it really depends on when you zoom out on the Bitcoin chart and the cycles of crypto, it depends how you're going to look at it. You'll either end up incredibly bullish or incredibly bearish, depending on your perspective and the lens in which you're looking at these cycles. I'm going to break this down. I'm going to zoom in on the daily to really paint some color to the story that is happening right now on these crypto charts. So hit the subscribe, hit the like. Let's jump into the video. I want to start zoomed out in Bitcoin. And I want to give you a very clear demonstration of why it really depends on which lens are you looking at this through. Very simple on a surface level, and you're going to see this. Triple top fear on Bitcoin. This is bad. We're topping out. That's such a surface level argument and analysis that actually, if you study the history of Bitcoin price movements, I don't think it makes a ton of sense. But even with that said, let's say Bitcoin is going to consolidate further from this area, right? It broke all-time highs very briefly and it's failed to go any higher. But let's say Bitcoin is going to see consolidation to the downside. Maybe even some dramatic consolidation. Maybe we break the 20-week moving average. We're going to talk about that in this video. It's in the mid-50s, a very important area for Bitcoin right now, a very normal area for Bitcoin to actually visit right now. But let's say it broke that. And Bitcoin actually fell over the coming months to like the 200, all the way down here in the 30s. What if that happens? Again, this is the lens in which you look at these charts. I don't know how you're here for, or how long you're here for. I'm a macro person in crypto. And so when I see that Bitcoin is making this all-time high move at Bitcoin halving, we're talking about it's making that move not, 500 to 600 days after the halving. This just happened before the halving. Bitcoin broke all-time highs. That is so important. But let's say Bitcoin falls. What else do we have here in the coming months if it were to happen? And we're going to dive into the analysis to really get a sense of shorter-term price movement. But what if it falls? We will be in an environment shortly after Bitcoin halving where crypto markets have truly cooled down after this run-up that it had so far in 2023. Truly cooled down. We're going to see the RSI, here's a slower moving momentum oscillator, truly cool down. And we'll be in this structured area where Bitcoin, and this will be the new narrative if it were to happen. I'm just trying to get this very bearish take out of the way. But we'll be in this environment where we're not talking about a triple top anymore, everybody. Bitcoin halving will have just happened not long ago, and we'll be having a talk about a potential inverse head and shoulders for this cycle with a $250,000 target to the upside. And that's not a hopium type of chart. That's just a technical move. If it were to happen speculatively, that's just a pattern that would be in formation. That would be in play. That's not hopium or a price prediction. I'm just saying the upside potential of crypto markets right now is so large, with especially even what's going on with the world, especially even what's happening from a macroeconomic perspective. A lot of times it's just going to require some patience. But let's dig into the charts, though, and just talk about why we're even kind of getting ahead of ourselves in terms of discussing, such a bearish scenario. So what I want to do is I want to go look at the daily chart and just really get some foundation to what's going on. And then we're going to look at ADA charts, Ethereum charts, just to give some clues on the altcoin side of things, how this plays into it. But here's Bitcoin on the daily. This move, no matter if we're at all-time high area, which is right here, in the middle of a bear market, bull market, wherever this is happening, this is just a structured move. Bitcoin was in this symmetrical triangle, which we've been tracking if you've been watching my YouTube channel. Didn't get to break to the upside. We got to break to the downside. We tested the upper trend line of that massive rising wedge, and we bounced off the trend line to the lower trend line of the symmetrical triangle. The amount of structure and the respect that Bitcoin price has for these charts, and this is why technical analysis, it just works so well. If you can be patient and wait for these moves and wait for these setups, it's not all the time that it's so consistent, but so often, everybody. If you watch my YouTube channel, you know how consistent these moves are and these patterns are and the flow that is involved here. And it's all on the back of human emotion and the way in which, people are trading these markets. But right now, Bitcoin is in a very normal and healthy, structured move, broke the lower trend line, revisited the trend line. Right now, before I talk about any type of upside, I want to discuss if it continues to move down to the target. The area target, the price target is around $52,000 for Bitcoin out of the symmetrical triangle. That's the target for Bitcoin if it's going to make the move. That would be a normal move. And so in speaking to that, and then I'm going to get over here to talk about maybe that won't happen and the bulls can step in. But we have this already on the shorter term. We have some resistance at the apex of the triangle. We have the 20-day moving average, the 50-day moving average right there, resistance there. If Bitcoin continues down, our next area of support, once again, will be the upper trend line of that rising wedge around 61,000. It could happen. Bitcoin could just kind of put in a formation, consolidate there, and try and bounce back up again above these moving averages. But if it fails, we have down here so many things going on that are so normal for Bitcoin. It is the Fibonacci bull market doors, the lower high macro Fibonacci bull market doors, right? This is an indicator that you all know I'm a really big fan of. It's that green rectangle that you see right there. It's a bull market high to bear market low, pulling right back into that area. We've broken above that area. That's a bull market door confirmation for me. Revisiting that area now. On the daily, you can see that is in play because of this $52,000 target. It will be revisiting that area. It will be revisiting the rising wedge kind of apex area and the 200-day moving average just below. All of these things are very relevant because if you actually go back and I revisit Bitcoin 2 cycles ago, I just want to show you this because, again, this speaks to how normal of a move this is. Bitcoin halving 2016, right at Bitcoin halving and through Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin fell to the 200. Finally, it broke those bull market doors, the very similar indicator that we're talking about, broke those doors, right? And then revisited those doors. Huge drop right above the 200-day moving average. And not only that, if I take a glance at the weekly, because we're discussing this fear of, man, a triple top, what's going on here? If you go back to that same time, that cycle, right? 2016 halving, Bitcoin just making this move, breaking the bull market doors, all-time high, and then starts plummeting, right? Look at these few weeks of consolidation to the 20-week moving average. I am sure there were people doing analysis on a double top for Bitcoin. The question is that I have for you, was that a double top? Was that a double top? At the time, when Bitcoin was falling to the 20-week moving average, it very well could have looked like one, right? Because you don't have all of this. You don't have the future price of Bitcoin and what's about to happen in the markets. All you have is what's going on. Bitcoin looks like it's putting in a double top and it's falling. That's clearly not what happened. My point is, we could be in a very similar thing right now. Bitcoin, it's not putting in a triple top. It's very simply revisiting, and look where it is on the weekly, the 20-week moving average, confluent with that lower trend line, that apex area, right in the bull market door area. That area where the 20-week moving average is around 55,000 if you go to the daily chart. That is a crucial area. Let me go to the daily chart. I have to kind of scroll over here. So $55,000 on that weekly. Here's what it looks like on the daily. Check it out. 54, 55, right in this general area, right at the apex, above the 200, within the bull market doors, revisiting this area, and we have this target to the downside out of the symmetrical triangle. Completely normal move. That is my point. And if that were to happen, this is happening at a time where the Bitcoin halving just happened. Because if you notice, when Bitcoin consolidated last cycle, after the Bitcoin halving, big consolidation right there, there was a pullback to the 20-week. You go to the cycle before that, the move that we just discussed, the pullback to the 20-week moving average. And I'm not sure about the cycle before. We can take a look. Bitcoin going into halving pulled into the 20-week moving average, but this was a time when Bitcoin was like $10, completely different volatile type of market. Now, if we go now, the move to the 20-week moving average, 100% normal for Bitcoin. So you could just see what's happening right now is not only normal, it's just needed. Now, the bullish scenario could be this. And then I'm going to discuss a couple altcoins just to give a sense of the broader crypto market. The bigger move that could happen that might kind of avoid that downside, or that we just talked about, would just very simply be what we kind of alluded to very briefly, this upper trend line acting as support, and maybe Bitcoin not even needing to retrace that low. We have a swing low here. This is a daily chart, but swing low to swing high. We have a higher low Fibonacci at the 618 right around 63,000, the 786 right around $61,000. $61,000 to $63,000 is a higher low support area that I'd be watching for on Bitcoin before even visiting this trend line, which is just below it. I mean, that trend line is just below it, around 60,000. But that entire range could be a support area for Bitcoin. Bitcoin might just, obviously, it's contending with these moving averages, the 50 in blue, the 20 in green. But Bitcoin might need just a little bit more time before breaking to the upside and closing daily candles above those areas. It's been a point of contention for Bitcoin right now, but that is not to say that Bitcoin might not make a bullish move above those areas. With that being said, if it doesn't, once again, that would be normal. If it does, again, it could be a fake breakout to the downside. This symmetrical triangle could play out to be a busted symmetrical triangle, meaning it's kind of a fake breakout, pulling back in, little bit of time, and then we're breaking up to actually the bullish targets, which is in the $85,000 to $90,000 region for Bitcoin. That would be an environment where crypto's just like, you know what? I'm not going to take a break. I'm just going to keep going right now. But my point is, a break right now for crypto, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't equal complete bearishness right out of the gate. And that's just because we have all this historical data that says Bitcoin has done this cycle and cycle before. So if we look at this now on just some altcoin charts, this is very quick perspective. Here's ADA, for instance. Then we're going to look at Ethereum. Bitcoin halving. It's so crucial for me in determining where are we in the cycle, or at the very least, just kind of like this point of reference to give us a sense of cycles. Last cycle, ADA was all the way down here around 6-7 cents, right? Ways away from its all-time high. And right now, ADA is around 47 cents, kind of way, not as far from its all-time high, but way from its all-time high. And it's just doing its thing and consolidating, and it's putting in its exits from the bear market. So consolidation on altcoins right now, this early in the cycle, I think is important, especially as we prepare for what I think will be an altcoin season that is approaching maybe this summer, end of summer. And if we zoom out on the Bitcoin dominance chart on the weekly, you really get a sense of what that could look like, right? And I've talked about this a lot. You see this green box over here, for instance. That's the start of that is the end of summer. And this is around when post-Bitcoin halving, altcoin season has happened, just months after the Bitcoin halving, right? So that could be in play. And for that to happen, altcoins need to be primed and ready. And what that looks like is, if you look at an Ethereum chart now, what that looks like is on the oscillators, the more just cooled off that they are, the better for altcoin season. Demonstration would be, here's last Bitcoin halving on Ethereum. It is good to see that Ethereum right now has cooled down from being overbought pre-Bitcoin halving. It's cooled down on the RSI, the slower moving momentum oscillator. You can see right there. It's cooled down, very similar level to where it was last Bitcoin halving. It's what we want to see for altcoins, I think, as we begin this new season, this new era of crypto. You'll see that Ethereum last cycle way kind of lower from all-time high than where it is this cycle. And this is kind of very similar to what we're seeing on ADA, actually. You can see this chart looks very similar to how far away ADA was, right? And I think that's because as I view these charts, ADA is kind of like a cycle behind Ethereum in terms of volatility and all of that. So it makes sense to see these two charts kind of reflecting each other like that. But right now, you can just see Ethereum on the RSI cool down. And I think that's a good thing for altcoins right now at this Bitcoin halving area. And I should probably move this somewhere around there. I don't know. Right here is fine. But those are my thoughts, everybody. Crypto just doing its thing. We have to let it cool down. For me, I'm happy. I'm very busy with my recruiting firm right now, and just kind of just stepping away from watching charts so much, because when we are in cool down season, no matter how long or volatile it's going to be, I just do better not staring at the charts all day, because let's face it, I enjoy green candles way more than I enjoy red candles. But when I study the data, I realize that, what's happening on these charts is normal, and we just really we have to give it some time. So those are my thoughts on Bitcoin and crypto today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please hit the subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.